Jones. It's great to see you. Yes. Okay, I'm a couple minutes late. I said 7:30. It's 7:35-ish, 7:36, something like that. But hey, here we are. But the reason for the delay is I was kind of in the middle of actually getting ready to preparing this whole thing because I have some stuff to share with you. Well, as I always say, right, one of the things that I do here is in the noodling, that sort of stuff, always giving Dad the opportunity to show up at the last minute and change things. And guess what? He did. So we're just going to have to, I guess, do a lot of the things I was planning to do tonight on this weekend. So we'll pick up this weekend. I'm back. And I'll try to explain things as best I can. When I first undertook this venture, right, presumably when we got started, it had a great deal to do with research. We were going to do some research into the unusual nature of things. One of the things that I was interested in, coming up with, or at least seeing what we could find out about, was this idea, right, is that what do we have in common, those of us who seem to have some kind of immunity to the bullshit that they throw out at us, right? And that some people seem that they are less subjected to this kind of thing. Then so I got into that process, and I think I got proof of concept going pretty well, but of course got sidetracked into doing this, the podcasting thing. And then, as you recall, a couple of years ago, was doing it pretty much every single day, right? Just people would ask, and I'd say, yes, of course. And so I'd show up at podcasts everywhere. And then missing some, time with my family, that sort of stuff. But that's fine. But the other thing was, and if you've been here for a while, right, you also remember, right, that I started having these weird medical issues. And those haven't stopped. It's, still ongoing, but there is some news there at least, and we'll try to, we'll try to figure this thing out, right? So, but I don't want to get stuck there because that's what I never wanted this to become, and was sad that it did, is some kind of mystery medical diagnosis channel, right? I've always been transparent and honest, but I never, like, the whole point about not using my name and not showing my image, right, was simply that I thought the message was more important than the messenger. I just didn't want anybody to get caught up in the cult of personality or anything like that, right? And such that we could focus on the material stuff, right? What's actually important. And ultimately, I think this, became an issue. So I, got sick and, was open about it, but as well as the, seeking treatment and what's going on here. And it certainly is a mystery, or has been. So again, I wasn't going to be disingenuous or dishonest about it, like some other people, but and about what's going on. So I just said, hey, this is what's happening, and as much as I don't enjoy, that being part of the process, it certainly is, and so there's no point in, sharing or not sharing, right, with you, because part of the thing we have here, right, is this relationship. And I think that one of the things that let me finish this thought and then I'll come back to that, right? So when things begin to turn really sideways, right, and then there was all this uncertainty, right, and people had, I guess, some questions or whatever, and instead of asking, they just made some assumptions. And rather than try to convince people of something, different than what they already thought, if they already thought a certain, again, the only thing I said then, and what I would say now, right, is if there's any question, go talk to Dad, right? I'm very comfortable that he will not lie, and if there was a way I could get him to lie for me, that'd be a great trick. But then that's a great test for you too. Are you comfortable in asking Dad, and are you comfortable in the answer, right? So just go ask. Like, I'd be comfortable with that. I don't have to convince anybody of anything. I'm not, I'm not really that concerned, honestly, about what people think of me. I'm concerned about what Dad thinks of me, and I like approval from my wife, and I like my grandkids and my kids to like me. but I'm not, so I get more popular, that sort of stuff. And, it's interesting. One of the things that I find, no matter what the topic of the channel is, I look around the changing landscape of YouTube and that sort of stuff, right? And the information as we get it, one of the things certainly is most people are getting their information. Wow. I'm so sorry. It just happens. And I tried to take some anti-nauseals beforehand so that this would not occur. You just have to bear with me. I'm sorry. So, okay. So, yeah. Anyway, this is this is what basically the point that I want to share with you tonight, right? Is because everything got kind of turned on its head. Anyway, I was just saying the way we get. I was so sorry. Hang on. That's just so terrible. So sorry about that. All right. My apologies. So, just work with me here, right? Just try not to freak you out. It's a difficult rub. Hey, hub. All right. It's really hard. So, the last bit of adjustment was that the things I was going to tell you tonight, I'm probably going to push off till the weekend, because what I wanted to tell you now, right, is one of the things that let me try to make this thought make sense, right? The way we receive our information, right, we're no longer doing it the same way we did, and a lot of the information comes directly from YouTube. A lot of the YouTubers, right, they get stuck in the idea of they got to build their YouTube channel, right? And so they get really into the analytics because YouTube provides a bunch of information, right, about who watches and that sort of stuff. And so what you can do is look at bigger channels and see what they do and try to copy them or whatever, right, and try to increase your engagement. And one of the things that really, annoys me is, when you go to a brand new channel or whatever, and the very first thing but before we get into the channel, make sure and like it and subscribe. Well, how would I know if I like it until I listen? And why would I subscribe until I get to the end, right? So they're asking for things, and but here's the bigger thing, right? They will almost always, these days, right, irrespective of how big their channel is or how they got there or what their original content material was, they now begin looking for the algorithm, right? I don't think I've watched a YouTube video. Well, okay, I'll say, at this point, at least 50% of them, at least 50% of every single video I watch, no matter what genre it is, will mention the algorithm. Some mention of the algorithm, trying to improve it, trying to keep it happy, trying not to get caught by it, trying not to say anything that will put you at odds with the algorithm, but ultimately they are trying now to program their content to the algorithm. And I determined that having seen that recently, I determined, right, because part of the thing for me is, and this is kind of what puts me in this awkward spot, right, is that my intention earlier, right, was to take this. And because there's so many things we could talk about, right? And there's so many different aspects to this. I thought, hey, we just spend our time doing this. I could spend less time at the office over there having to earn an income, come over here, right? And if people appreciate it, right, then they can, donate or whatever, just like, hey, wherever you get your bread, just like I did with the coffee at Solar Return and the festival, right? Both times. So you don't have to buy my coffee, just come and get it. And then if you want to leave me a donation, it's fine, right? And that's how I wanted to do this, right? Not a paywall or anything like that, but if you appreciated it, you could donate that sort of stuff. But I bet you'll notice, right, that none of the spiritual streams, none of the ancient wisdom or that sort of stuff, none of those are monetized because it doesn't belong to me. It's Dad's stuff, right? And then the other stuff, really, I just thought, hey, what we'll do is we'll try to build up a community here, right? And then maybe I could do this full time. And that's what I think, people who say, I want to be a YouTuber, right? We show up and do that. And so they then try to, program to the algorithm, right, to draw more people. And I'm like, but that ignores why people came there in the first place. And I'm never going to do that to you, right? I'm not going to chase the algorithm. But things have changed, right? So because of the latest changes to my physical condition, I wasn't able to really work the way that I used to. And it is true that when you die, the want ad for your replacement will it will hit the newsprint before your obit does, right? So just keep that in mind if you spend all your time at work, right? That's not your life, right? So no longer had the same kind of value. And so I was immediately, let go. And so, but one of the things, I had a plan. One of the things I was going to do is continue to do, YouTube, do some of that stuff, and do some voiceover work, that sort of thing. And again, so all that stuff obviously has changed with the latest changes in my condition and neurological stuff. Obviously, you can hear now that the whistling and stuff because of the teeth and the temporary dentures they gave me kind of cause problems and they clack and stuff, and so it's nothing's good. Anyway, what I wanted to get to you this weekend, right, is to say, hey, in the middle of all this bad stuff, right, I'm still not complaining because Dad is here, he's present, and that's what I want to tell you tonight. So this weekend, what I wanted to get together and what I promised from the park, right, was I'd get together and talk to you about the new stuff, like, believe it or not, new stuff I want to do in the midst of all this tragedy, right, just going to look up at Dad and go, hey, though you slay me, yet I will trust you, right? My hope is still in you, and that's from the book of Job. And I feel that way, right? Like everything that I am and that I have belongs to Him. Everything that, if there is any good in me at all, it's all belongs to Him. Everything I was before was just a knucklehead, right? So, I owe it to Him. I'll give everything back, and my life belongs to Him, no problem. Right? So, and I'm cool with that. But, right, this has changed things, and so as a result, I'm going to have to change things. And so I'm very quickly having to scramble to get some of this stuff done. But part of that is increased difficulty with some of the neurological stuff. And that includes, walking, talking, driving, that sort of stuff. Anyway, but in the midst of all that, irrespective of all that, I think Dad still wants to use me and whatever, this is, again, I'm still working to try to figure it out. I'll have some updates this weekend. I did some great research last couple of days, and I think I'm maybe making some progress on some approaches, right, for potential treatment so that this doesn't continue to become degenerative. That is the nature of it. At least that's what we know so far, right? It's degenerative, and it's not like, oh, you got a fever and then you're going to get better. It's you lost a leg and it's just it's just going to keep getting worse. So I have to deal with that and manage that, but not to be held. And again, Dad can do whatever he wants, whenever he wants, and however he wants, and I'm cool with that. But here's what I wanted to share with you, right? Is that so what I was planning to do is let you know the plans that I have and how I'm going to approach this, and I want to come see you, right? So. There's a whole bunch of this stuff. If you heard me talk about, try to change the world, that's it. We're going to do it. So I'm planning to do this busking tour, try to go around, get people to shake hands with each other. It's a whole deal. And I'll need some time to explain that to you. And I thought my plan was to do that tonight and kind of at least tease that and what's happening with that. But things, as they do, have changed. And I'll put that off until this weekend because what I wanted to share with you is, Dad just kind of knocked me as I'm getting ready for this. Of course, always the last minute stuff, so I don't have any video for you. But in the midst of all the research, right, that I've been doing, a lot of it has to do with, obviously I'm dealing with a neurological issue. Some of the stuff that they deal with this, right, is as a result of stress. And so if you're managing stress, some of that deals with, emotional states and that sort of stuff. And so I'm dealing with neurology, dealing with all these neurological issues. And, obviously some of it is your stress state. And so as I'm going through this and getting familiar with, refamiliarizing myself with some, long ago stuff that, things that I've long since forgotten in terms of biology and neurology and all that sort of stuff, and reacquainting myself with the language and all that, good stuff. Um, Inevitably, I came to this, right? And I think that everyone, all 10 of us here, right, can agree with this. And that is that in the last 3 years, certainly, and probably in the decade prior, just by nature of the sociological condition, but in the last 3 years, certainly by what they've done with this, you know, health thing. You know what I'm talking about. I don't have to, do anything. Hey, Mojo, how are you, man? But what I see here, right, is they have made a specific direct attack on relationships, right? And I'm going to spend some time going through this to outline this, but I mean, I think you know it instinctively, right? That the relationships that we've had, they've broken them down over time. So we have not only the social contract, the social relationship, taking you out of a familial, multi-generational family kind of tribal setting and putting you where you're all alone in the midst of a whole bunch of people, right? So loneliness in cities. And the point of all this, right, is that as I'm continuing to prepare and looking at the stuff around me and how I want to manage all this, one of the things that becomes very aware, and one of the things that my doctors are dealing with is that especially the younger generation, what they would call Gen Z or whatever, they're literally dying of loneliness. All of us are. We are isolated, and it occurs to me, right, that of all the things that they, right, have done to harm us, to steal from us our history, our identity, right, who we are, what we are, and where we belong, has all been stolen from us. But more than that, right, it occurred to me that this sickness that is affecting all of us, of isolation and loneliness, right, goes against our exact purpose, right? We were put here to be in relationship, right? Not to figure out where we live. I mean, yes, he wanted us to be curious and to study and learn. And yes, I see all of that. But primarily, he made us because he wanted to be in relationship with us, right? And that we should be in relationship with each other. And when we are prevented from that in every possible way, both, obviously it's been proven over and over again. I don't have to, I mean, I can, if you need me to, pull up a bunch of different abstracts and studies starting as late as the 1860s, demonstrating that isolation makes people crazy. We're not meant for it. And the longer and more isolated that you are, the less adaptive we are. Right. And so what I wanted to just come here tonight, right, very briefly, I do want to spend more time with you. It's obviously the point. But what has happened, right, is in the last couple of months, as I try to do this every time every time I get started, I get sick. And part of that is just because, it's a stress-induced condition, and stress increases it and it'll cause problems. And obviously, while I'm comfortable being with you, doing all this stuff, right, causes and creates stress, as well as suddenly finding myself, right, where I thought I had everything set up and I thought I had a smooth transition from one kind of work to another. I now have a very sudden transition without income, right? And so that creates its own problems. And, so I'm not big on begging or e-begging. I've never merged up or anything, but I will say that Dad has kind of nudged me, right, to go ahead and ask, right? I'm not comfortable doing it, but it's like, I don't know. I trust him for everything, and so it's not that I don't trust him. It's that he said ask. So I'm going to say, hey, if you can help out, right? All the stuff is listed at the bottom. If you can help out, financially or physiologically or any of that stuff, there's a lot of stuff I need help with because I can't physically do it anymore. Hopefully that will change, right? And hopefully, some of the stuff that I've invested in will begin to show return, and I'll get the income necessary. But in the interim, right, I guess I'm supposed to ask. So, hey, if you can, all the stuff is in the show description, and you can do that. If you have any questions, of course, you can email me, and then we can do that. So, no problem at all. Anyway, but here's what the reason I called you here, right, is to go moving forward. Right, one of the things that I want to put in your mind and keep in front of mine, right, is this idea of fellowship, right, that we need each other badly, right? I need you. I missed you really, really badly. And from the emails and messages I get, right, I got hit so hard. I think it was about 10 days ago. Somebody messaged me, a friend. You know this person. I won't say who, but you probably know this person if you're in the community. Messaged me and said, "Hey, can we talk?" And I'm like, "Yeah, of course." So we connected, and like everybody, she's having a difficult time of it. We all are, right? There's no shame in that. And so, of course, I want to be there to, offer a shoulder. That's what I do, right? But as she's telling me about it, right, she's at her wit's end, like, again, many of us are. But I got really hard convicted because Dad's been bugging me for a while, right, to get back in the seat here. And again, I keep trying. There keeps being frustrations. And so sometimes I don't know if that's a sign to not do it, even though, it's confusing because he was nudging me hard to do it, or just these are the obstacles that I must overcome, right? Wrong, or I'd begin to get sick. Happens every time. So this time I just said, all right, screw it. We're gonna do it. So here we are. And but at the last minute he changed things, right? So I have a plan, and I guess we'll cover all that stuff this weekend because there is information that I want to share with you, both in terms of just my journey, but the bigger picture, right? What we're going to do next and what we can do and how I, perceive this. I think that we have an opportunity to do something good in the midst of all the bad, for real, right? And I think that I've been given a little inspiration for this, right? And that's the challenge for me, is to set aside my own, infirmities here, right? And do it anyway, right? Despite the fact that, it's embarrassing, and it's nobody wants to get up in front of people like looking like you're in late stage Parkinson's. What was obviously the first thing Michael J. Fox did is quit working, right? Because especially if you're a public figure, it's not who people expect, right? And it's difficult, right? Because all that reminds you of the things that you can no longer do. Moreover, other concerns that, because it is neurological and, your brain is the bundle of nerves, right, that as these things continue to change and deteriorate, it sort of takes the me that is me with it. And so that's not very exciting. So it also puts a quick bit of impetus, right, for urgency, right, that I must move forward with some bit of urgency. Which again, all good. Man, take me home sooner. I'm fine with that. They've made this place a crap hole anyway. You know what I mean? So, I don't want to be like that. But I am saying, don't threaten me with a good time. Right? Get me out of here. I'm ready to go. But I have things to do before I go, and I think you do too. And I think that's why you're here. And I keep watching as Dad moves the pieces on the board and moves things around and people, and introduces people into your life that it is obviously by divine appointment. All right, so I want to tell you this, right, before we part tonight. So one of the things that we're going to do, I just wanted to make this commitment that no matter what else happens, I'm going to make at least a weekly space here, at least sometime on Sunday probably, and probably Saturday as well, but at least one opportunity for us to get together for the express purpose of just sharing time with each other, right? Just like, I don't know, a little meeting. I don't want to say it's a Vespers or a church service or whatever, because, according to Scripture, the way I read it, you are the church. So wherever you go, there it is. But And neither is it my intention to make it a religious service, other than, again, um, I don't, because I don't care for religion. It's the relationship, right? Now I'm just here to help urge and encourage people, right, in their walk as we get closer and closer to the end. This is each step comes with greater and greater hardships and difficulty, and you should know that. Be aware of it. Prepare for it. But you're strong, right? And you wouldn't be here if you weren't, right? And from the very outset, with this entire thing, I made a, my point with Dad to say I don't care about making the channel super big, right? Or, getting a lot of traction. I want the right people to come, right? And for the most part, that has been the way. The right people are here. And I want more of the right people, right? But only the right people. In the same way, I only do what I see Dad do, right? Look at how few people really chase him down compared to the great many people who there are, right? The highway to hell, right, is broad, and narrow is the way, and straight is the gate that leads to the kingdom. So, it's made. Right. The fact that you are going through hardships is in itself demonstration, right, of where we are. Consider where we are and that things are changing. Hey, Andrea, it's so good to see you, right? And Stephanie, it's so good to see you and just all you folks. And I so sorry. I also wanted to be, I would be remiss if I missed this. And I just saw that. I was going to say, Andrew, thank you very much for your kindness. Andrew has sent some gifts, and there's been, let me find this other one because it came in through a very weird, an unusual, Charles Stewart. There we go. I should have just said Charles, but thank you for your kindness as well. There's just no way through that app for me that they just prevent me from sending any message other than just a heart or whatever. So yeah, that's where we're at. So hey, Natalie, you showed up just as we're about to I'm about to wrap up, I think, but we're gonna go into the weekend. We're gonna come back and do a long form stream this weekend. Lord willing, the creek don't rise if I'm not sick, but I've already started prepping the stuff. There's numerous parts to it, and it'll be more along the lines of some of the stuff that you're more familiar with just a brief update on the medical stuff and the plans. That's a pretty big chunk, but there's also research. So anyway, what I wanted to tell you, though, again, while we're here, right, is that again, you're not alone, and we're here for the express purpose of relationship, right? Both with our Creator and with one another. So, hang tight, right? Chin up. We're going to get through this, and it won't take much longer. It won't be, every step won't be fun, right? But every step leads us closer to home, and that is worth it, right? So, so first, I just want to say thank you for being here. And second, as it says, there's no data. That's awesome. That you're not alone. And if you need to reach out, reach out to me, right? I can't always promise, instant response, but prompt, I will respond. I miss you guys, right? And so hang on to each other. But we cannot, as much as I've been a hermit in the last 10 years, I at least have my lovely Brian, and I, at least had some contact in the world, but you need relationship. You cannot do it by yourself, right? So hang on. Let's do it together. We're going to walk this out and help each other, okay? Be of good cheer, right? But also be not deceived. That's a big one. All right, that's what I got for you tonight. I had more. I do have more. We'll do it this weekend. Like I said, just as I was getting ready to come in here, Dad slapped me upside the head and said, hey, let's do this instead. So, my first appearance, let's see, goes way back. It had to do with, I want to say it was in the 180s, something like that, maybe 186 or something like that, having to do with surveillance state. And I did 2 pretty quick episodes, not quite back to back, but 2 pretty quick. And I started doing the Sunday show with him on TFR, and then he stopped doing that. And then, well, yeah, okay. Anyway, I love Crow. He's a good guy. we see some things differently, and that's cool. I mean, I don't know anybody who I agree with completely on everything, right? So, and I'm certain that means I'm probably mistaken. So there you go. Anyway, love you guys. I'm going to leave it here for now, I think, and come back this weekend. We'll do it Saturday. Was that it? 154? Thank you, Mojo. I appreciate that. I think 154, maybe then 156 or 8. I don't remember. It's been a while. Anyway, you guys are awesome. Thanks for stopping by. I promise I'll get more stuff for you up. We'll spend more time in the Word. I've got some study stuff looking around, and I probably will do the Crockpot as well. So if you're into that, I probably will pursue that as well. I wanted to check in with you and go, hey, there's been some stuff with the health thing, and so we'll keep going. Anyway, love you guys. Thanks so much for stopping by. It's so good to see you. And I didn't mean to do a bait and switch on you. I was all ready for the long version. And just before I started, Dad said, hey, nope, do this instead. Just tell them to hang on. And okay, so there you go. Hang on. We're all in this together, right? Reach out if you need to. Reach out to each other. Hang on. We're going to get home. I promise. We're going to do well. You guys are the best. Thank you so much. I'll see you soon.